For the past few months, I've been making all sorts of things. If you've been following me on Instagram, you may see a few of them, but I regularly talk about how some of these things can get recycled and remade. And today, I've taken on the task. So, you may notice that when I open it up out of this bag, that I have probably left the clay a little too long, and it's developed mold, and lots of mold. The smell is quite unlike what you've smelt before. It is almost putrid. And these big black squelches, that's black mold that's festered and grown. So this is about 15 kilos of clay. I've had it sitting out in the sun over the past few days in an old pillowcase. And as you can see, the outside of the clay I thought was ready to throw, which it was. But unbeknownst to me, the inside is still very wet and almost unusable in this state. In this clay, I've got 3 different clays that I've been using throughout my process. I've got a high grit clay, a white clay, and my standard Keen's 33 clay. And as you can see here, I decided that the clay is too wet, but I've got a trick up my sleeve. This bag of clay I've opened up is clay that is hardened out far too much. And as you can see, it's really hard to wedge. It's almost to the point of leather hard. And what I plan on doing is layering in the harder clay with the softer clay. I've done this before and it worked a treat. So you put a few thick layers of hard clay, and then you layer in the softer clay and really compact it down. The goal here is to create essentially a lasagna of different textures of clay. Bear in mind that the whole space I've been working in now is filled with this smell of rotting, putrid clay. So seeing it go everywhere was quite unnerving, and I tried to work as fast as possible with it. And now begins the process of slam wedging. You slice down the middle after you've created all the layers, and you throw it on and slam it down. And this, over and over and over again, compacts the clay and forms it into one homogeneous blob. As you can see, as you slam it down, it's almost like the layers of the Earth's crust compressing in on itself. Here's a different angle, and you can see I have compressed it a few times now. This will happen maybe 50 times before it becomes the texture I need. And by this point, the clay is starting to share its moisture from the wet into the dry clay, and it's actually becoming more malleable. You can hear the stickiness and tackiness of the bench, and as the bench gets saturated you have to constantly scrape the moisture and the wet clay off. But the mold also slowly dissipates throughout. So working with moldy clay, a lot of people actually have health concerns with this, and I guess I'm one of those people. So I've opened up my whole space to make sure there's lots of flowing air in case there is spores in the air from it. But also, I thoroughly wash my hands after doing this, as any remnants of the clay on my hands, say if I go for lunch or make a coffee, can be transferred into that. And after prolonged exposure to this, it can actually be quite hazardous to your health. However, when this clay is fired, it goes up to about 1,000 degrees Celsius. So not much can actually survive the process. The clay can actually essentially be renewed by doing this. Some people actually prefer to work with moldy clay, as they say it adds a bit more flexibility and elasticity to the clay. I found it to be similar, but because it's reclaimed, it does have that less structural hold to it. So when I throw more angular shapes, it doesn't always hold its space, as we'll see in my next video. Here, I've decided that there's still some clay that needs to be dried out, and I'm scooping it all back into the bag to go sit out in the hot Australian sun again. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and follow for more clay stuff. Thanks. Bye.